I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Jefferson County Board of Education. It's at 6 o'clock on Monday, July 25th, 2022. If you would, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have some student recognitions.
We do, and smack dab in the middle of summer, no less. So I want to extend a big thank you to the students and the families that have come out to support them. But it is something that deserves recognition. Earlier this month, Jefferson County FFA members participated in the 94th Annual West Virginia State FFA Convention. It was held at Cedar Lakes Conference Center in Ripley, West Virginia. Members attended sessions and leadership workshops and competed in competitions and were awarded with state FFA degrees. I'm going to introduce those students. If you're present, I'd like you to come up here and I've got a certificate for you, and then we're going to have you go up on stage and we'll get a picture of you with the Board of Education. I know that a lot of members could not join us this evening, but I certainly want to honor and recognize those who are in attendance. So I'll get started with Charlestown Middle School's FFA and the first place quiz bowl team. Kiera Anderson, Chloe Fisher, Emily Gottschalk, and Olivia Mercer. 3 for 4, I'll take it. All right, if you smile for me for a moment. FFA on 3. 1, 2, 3.
FFA.
4, 2. 1, 2, 3. FFA. All right.
Way to go, girl.
And hang tight 1 second. I want to hear about what you achieved, but I wanted to read off the rest of the names first. Shepherdstown FFA. You don't get off that easy. We're going to talk shop a bit. Brant Hamrick represented the Northeast region in the middle school tractor driving contest. Madison Rogenkamp with Washington FFA was the first place upperclassman in creed speaking. Madison. Thank you. Madison will make her way up there as well. Ruby Plummer, 3rd place in prepared public speaking. Riley Brown, Jefferson FFA, 2nd place in the employment skills CDE. Hannah Birch with Washington got 3rd place in that same category. You all are so efficient. I just took pictures. I'm like, wait, everyone's going to get up there. So this is going smoothly despite my delays. Thank you. Jefferson FFA 4th place team in the home site evaluation contest. Team members included Hayden Jeffries, who was 3rd place individuals, Hunter Hours, who placed 7th in the individual contest, Hannah Good, and Natalie Rosiski. Jefferson FFA 1st place in the conduct of chapter meeting CDE. That includes Luke Vines, Chris Croson, Grace Ott, Macy Dunn, Haley Owens, Abigail Shanley, and Briley Bauer. All right. And Riley Brown from Jefferson was also elected to serve as the 22-23 Northeast Regional West Virginia FFA Vice President, and Washington FFA member Hannah Birch, and Jefferson members Riley Brown, Marlon Fagans, Hayden Jeffries, Emily Marsteller, and Matthew Vickers received their state FFA degree, which is the highest honor the State FFA Association can bestow upon its members. So congratulations, everybody. One last picture, then it's time to talk. FFA on 3, everybody this time. 1, 2, 3.
FFA.
Here we go. Okay, so come on around. Really quickly, come on around this way.
Parents,
So-
if you'd like to come up more to get pictures, you
Yes,
may.
pictures
You don't
are-
have to
are-
sit back there.
Encouraged, please. So I'd like each of you to talk about what you learned this year and then how it helped you at the state competition.
So this year I actually was dual enrolled and I took several college classes at Blue Ridge Community College. And then going into state convention, I was notified that I would be competing in the employment skills contest. Being able to have some prior experience on the college level as well as previous real life experience prepared me wonderfully for this contest. I highly recommend any FFA member who's interested in doing it to please look into doing it in the future. It was a great opportunity. I also received my state degree this year, which is the second highest degree an FFA member can receive, the first highest degree a state can give. So that was a huge honor as well.
I'm Madison, and I did upperclassmen creed speaking this year. And this is actually my first year in FFA. I just moved here. So, you know, when I first came here, I wasn't really sure what FFA was. I knew my dad did it, but I wasn't really sure what I was getting myself into. But I got put into ag classes. So I was like, okay, you know, why not try it out? I have a horse farm. I mean, it's kind of up my alley, I would think. Well, then I ended up getting dragged into, I think, 3 different contests, none of which I said yes to. They just told me I was doing it. But here I am, and I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. But I think that this year, you know, getting in those ag classes, seeing all what FFA has to offer for me, it gave me so many more opportunities, let me meet a whole bunch of new people, different perspectives. It was just a really different environment. And I think that it'll help prepare me for, you know, college and future careers, because I've, you know, going in all those contests, you have to, you know, I did a public speaking contest. I'm okay with public speaking. It's not my favorite thing, but I had to go on that stage and do that. And that's going to help me a lot in my future, especially, you know, something as simple as going up in front of the class and giving a speech or giving a presentation. Well, I just said a 5-paragraph thing in front of a whole bunch of people and answered some questions, and it was really nerve-wracking. So, you know, having something that I've been prepared for, that'll be easy. But I can't thank FFA enough for the opportunities it's given me and how it's helped me develop over this past year.
I'm Olivia, and before we went to Cedar Lakes for the convention, we all knew that we signed up to compete in our contest. And for our contest, we had to know a lot of like FFA facts and the history of like the organization. So going there and studying, I learned how I need to like actually practice for anything that I want to be successful in. And by knowing all of this FFA history and the way that we like our organization was created, it's going to help me like going further into knowing my FFA knowledge and just being able to get more like deeper into the club and chapter.
I'm Emily. This is my first year in FFA. I'm so happy that I did it and I got out of chorus class because I didn't want to do chorus anymore. FFA has really taught me a lot. And even though we practiced every Wednesday in June for this competition, and it was so nice to have first place, Miss Friend even made us practice while everyone else was getting ready or walking around. We practiced for a good 2 hours. So thanks, Miss Friend.
I'm Chloe, and to get this competition, really like helped me learn a lot about FFA, and like just being in it, you don't really know that much, but it helped me learn deeper into the history of it and know really what it's about. So. Okay.
Did everyone get a chance for a photo op? Wonderful. Thank you, ladies, so much. I'm sweating more than you are. You did great. Thank you. I appreciate you. And if you have not seen our other FFA related news, if you've not seen our website or social media or the other announcements, Charity Marsteller, who is the ag teacher at Washington High School, has been named a finalist for the West Virginia Teacher of the Year. So, or
Charity-
Jefferson, excuse me, thank you. Is a finalist for the West Virginia Teacher of the Year this year. And our own Wendy Dodson in the central office in the social emotional department is a finalist for the West Virginia School Service Personnel of the Year. So we're very excited and proud of them as well. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you,
Thank
Hans. We have an update from Deputy Superintendent of Operations, Joyce White.
Good evening. I have several updates for you this evening. We'll start with child nutrition. Dylan Bites, the coordinator of child nutrition, has reported that he was able to secure an additional equipment grant in our kitchens. These come from the WVDE. This is one of 2 grants we've received for the year. The first grant will provide Charlestown Middle School with a new oven. And the second grant he just obtained replaces the warmer at CW Shipley. So we're very excited because that does defray the cost of equipment by 80% and our local share is 20%. Several summer bond projects are in various stages of completion. I'm excited this evening to come to you to talk about several that are already completed or being completed this week. The CW Shipley awning project is completed. I've looked at it. It looks awesome on the new school, and I'm certain it'll keep the children dry on many wet days. Blue Ridge Elementary and the right denning flooring has been completed. Shepherdstown Middle School flooring is going to be completed at the end of this week. The Shepherdstown Middle School roof is nearly complete. We have the rubber all down the roof, and it just needs a new roof hatch and some metal trim, and it will be completed. The South Jefferson Elementary School roof project has been started, and the tails roof is about 80% complete. Charlestown Middle School bleachers are in the process of demolition. The bleachers are going to be installed and ready to go by August 15th. So we're excited about that project ahead of football season there. The fire alarm replacement at Blue Ridge Elementary is going to begin in the next week or so, and that will easily be completed by the time school starts. In maintenance, we have summer painters that are currently wrapping up all school painting requests that the principals have made. The maintenance staff has been busy this summer with school work orders, and they're working on the school's requests for summer lists. So they're scrambling to get that finished, and I'm sure, as always, they'll do an excellent job at having the schools ready. They're starting to look very pretty. In technology, they've been busy with a couple of initiatives. The largest is Weavis. And for those that don't know, I'll explain. It's the West Virginia Education Information System. It's been upgraded after a long-awaited pause to 2.0. Technology has created a training roadmap for our localized end users here at Jefferson County Schools. The student information system and the maintenance of the system is, of course, of utmost importance for the student safety and academic success. The new system is providing a centralized hub for everything that staff will need to know about students, and it acts to gather data throughout the year for state and federal collection as deemed appropriate and necessary by policy and laws. There are 8 areas of training that will be addressed over the course of the 2022-2023 school year: student records, student enrollment, attendance, course enrollment, health applications, discipline applications, special education records, and PEP plans. Each of these areas will be pertinent to select staffing groups of Jefferson County, which includes secretaries, nurses, administrators, special educators, counselors, and teachers. Training began last week for Weavis 2.0, and it'll continue through August 19th, including board office personnel, bus garage central office people, as I said, administrators, C&I, registrars, new teachers, attendance workers, nurses, special education, and counselors and administrators. There will be 3 or 4 other opportunities throughout the school year as well as we acclimate people to this new system. It's a big job. Technology should be commended for having such a thorough training program and supporting our JCS employees so well. In the spring, we received notice from the West Virginia Department of Education that air purifiers were available through a grant from the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources. We responded to the grant opportunity and were recently awarded 808 air purifiers for our school classrooms. Each school will receive an allotment of air purifiers for use in the school's general education and special education classrooms. We anticipate these will be enough to provide each of these classrooms with air purifiers. Filters will be supplied for 2 years, and after that, schools will be able to request filters on their custodial allocation forms. So that's very exciting that we'll be adding the air purifiers for free through a grant to our school system. Lastly, I want to provide you with a Harpersbury Middle School update. On June 13th, as I've informed you before, our Harpersbury Middle School commercial fire alarm sounded. A burst sprinkler line in the computer lab on the first floor of the historical section of Harpersbury Middle School was the source that set off the fire alarm. First responders and our operational safety and facilities director discovered that the drop ceiling in the computer lab had collapsed. On June 14th, the fire marshal inspected the room. Upon completion of his inspection, he directed Jefferson County Schools to have a licensed engineer inspect the historical section and make a determination of the root cause of the drop ceiling collapse. After checking to ensure asbestos was not present and finding that it was not present, an inspection was made on July 5th at Harpersbury Middle School by a structural engineer. Upon completion of his inspection, the licensed structural engineer deemed it necessary to make some structural changes to the historical section of Harpersbury Middle School. Constructed in 1930, the historical section, its original ceiling contains a lathe. To describe a lathe and plaster is a building process, and it's used or was used back in the day to finish interior dividing walls and ceilings. It consists of narrow strips of wood, which are called lathes, and they're nailed horizontally across the wall studs or ceiling joists, in this case ceiling joists, and then coated in plaster. As time passed, we added a drop ceiling. In the drop ceiling, equipment such as air handlers, ductwork, lights, and sprinkler lines were placed between the plaster ceiling and that drop ceiling. During a subsequent renovation, the supports to support all of these things were run through the lathe and connected. The sprinkler lines, ductworks, air handler units were all connected in that manner to the lathe. All the stress of this equipment over time brought everything down onto the floor in June. Per the structural engineer, it will take unistrut, which is a steel channel, to be installed to stabilize the grid, lights, ductwork, sprinkler lines, and air handler units. The plan is to remove the drop ceilings, leaving the ductwork in place. Unistrut will be added in a grid perpendicular to the ceiling and floor joists. The equipment that needs to be removed, which is the ductwork and air handlers, will all be taken down and put back. We'll then add the drop ceiling, followed by lights. In a few rooms, the floor will need replaced due to the water that was on the floor as the result of the burst sprinkler line in the computer lab. In process now, our structural engineer is completing the drawings and specifications. The plan must then be submitted to the fire marshal's office, and they can take up to 21 days to review and approve it. Affected teachers in the historical section have been informed today, along with the entire Harpersbury Middle School staff, that the affected teachers will occupy modulars for the first semester this year. The modulars will have restroom trailers nearby for use of students. Due to the timing of the incident, modulars will not be ready by the start of school. In working with the Harpersbury Middle School administration, it was the goal of everyone involved to keep Harpersbury Middle School students on one campus. Therefore, students will all report the first day of school. They will gather materials, and each grade level will then rotate and spend 1 week as virtual learners until the modulars can be completed. Mr. Van Dale, Harpersbury Middle School principal, will meet with parents in the near future to go over his detailed learning plan for the first weeks of school. He will announce the date, time, and place for this meeting later this week. An estimate of repairs for this historical section is $523,000. Some of that will be defrayed in the one room by insurance. We do not know how much insurance will pay at this time. We're still working with the insurance company to get that information. Additional costs include modular rentals. We must rent them for the year at $246,000. We're going to rent a tent to accommodate all students for the first day of school at a cost of $5,000. And portable restrooms to accommodate students who are in the modulars will be approximately $50,000. This is an estimated total cost of $824,000. Material lead times aren't going to be so much of a problem. Unistrut is not an issue to get in today's market. Ceiling tile, however, is delayed. HVAC equipment has a lead time of 32 to 44 weeks. The room that needs the HVAC equipment, however, is the computer lab. This is not a room that students use for learning on a daily basis. So we anticipate everyone being able to reoccupy the historical section of Harpersbury Middle by January 2023. Do you have any questions for me?
I'm sorry, what was the completion date?
January 2023.
Okay, so. Okay, so if they're going to complete it January 2023, will we still need the modulars for a whole year?
The minimum rental period required by any modular company we can find on the East Coast is 12 months.
Okay,
I am very comfortable with that simply because if things run late, the students still have a place to learn. I also want to point out this affects 8 classrooms.
okay,
Okay,
all right. And are we able to get a copy of that?
absolutely.
Thank you.
I will email the board.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a quick question, Joyce. So it's one classroom that is damaged and has water, but 8 classrooms because they're in the same boat as the other classroom. Is that correct?
Correct. When you look in the ceiling, they were all constructed the same way. So
Okay.
one ceiling has failed.
Okay.
So the structural engineer did not approve just saying it was an anomaly in that room. When there's consistency throughout the building, we want to reinforce it and make it safe for all students for the duration of the building. So he was not willing to take that risk, nor am I.
Okay. So that's why there's a considerable amount of students being displaced because it's a total of 8 learning well, 7 learning classrooms and a computer lab.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just ask one more question. You said that the principal will meet with the parents. Will we be able to get like a clear date on that so that the public knows?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Vandell will work with our public information officer, Hans Vogel, to make sure that date's publicized.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then last question, when do we have an approximate date for those trailer? Like how long will our kids be virtual? Because I mean, for middle schoolers, I know that it's not
Right.
as much one-on-one. I'm thinking, are any special ed rooms affected, or are we able to at least pull in all of our
We
children, which
looked
is
at all of that, and given the space he had, it didn't work. We were committed to the fact that they all come to school and meet their teachers, be on campus for the first day and to gather materials. 1 week each is how long we estimate it will take. And the modular company has let us know by September 14th that they'll be ready to go with the modulars.
Okay.
They do need to pass inspection. So that's what they're saying. And that's the date we have to go with, putting a whole lot of pressure on them to deliver that.
Okay, and so are we saying that, yes, there will be some special education classrooms that will be virtual at least 1 week?
That I would have to look to Mr. Vandell's plan for. I don't have that in front of me at this time. So I will answer your question.
Yeah,
I just can't,
That's
I
fine.
want to answer it fully and I can't do that at this time.
I'm just thinking, one-on-one with parents and working schedules and stuff, it's a little bit easier for a middle
Mhm.
schooler to be unsupervised for a certain amount of time, but not a child in that regard. So we need to see if we can avoid that piece. but thank
Okay, very good point. Thank you. All right, thank you.
As Mr. Fogel pointed out to me, because we had spoken earlier today, we will be releasing tonight and tomorrow to parents a notice that the meeting for the Harpersbury parents will be August the 9th at 6 p.m. We are unable right now, as Ms. White had conveyed, Weavis 2.0 and the rollover of information has been very interesting. So right now, we don't have the capacity to do robocalls out to the rising 6th and next year 7th and 8th at Harpersbury. We would have to call all of those 600 plus kids individually. So a robocall will not be going out, but we will be putting out on all other channels. And much like she's putting pressure on the modular companies, we're putting pressure on WVDE and Weavis to give us the information that we need and to complete the rollover so that our automated systems for notifying parents can come back online. But we will have up on Facebook, on our webpage, and out to the community in plenty of time, all of the information about that. And if we end up having to call people one at a time, then that's what we'll do to make sure that they have that information.
And this, I'm sorry, will this be a virtual meeting or will this be?
I would imagine that it will be both. It will
Okay.
in person and virtual.
Okay, thank you.
But that information will be on the flyer out to parents.
Any other questions? Our next order of business is to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held July 11th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Ogden. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Citizens' comments. We have no citizens' comments. We are to the consent agenda. Are there any corrections or deletions to the consent agenda?
No, so there are no corrections or deletions. However, I do have, as is our practice, an introduction to make to the board for my recommendation. As I've said before, the selection of a principal, and as you've seen here at Harpersbury, leadership makes a significant difference, having a trust relationship with your community. And choosing those leaders is one of the most important things we do. We have a pretty robust selection process. As you know, we have teachers, service personnel, and parents and school staff who serve on a large selection committee. And that selection committee requires unanimous consent before we will recommend someone to the board. So tonight, I am very pleased to recommend for your consideration Dr. Brooks Kersey for the superintendent. You know what? That was a Freudian slip, Dr. Kersey.
He's going up the ladder quick.
He is, he is. And I'm ready to make room for him. And actually part of that is in my head. I connect him with that. For those of you who may not know your Jefferson history, Dr. Kersey's grandfather was a superintendent. And so he has school in his blood, and he is a native here of Jefferson County and has devoted his life to education. He's been a teacher of West Virginia history and an administrator. He's been an assistant principal for 5 years, has gone through the ranks, has worked very hard to increase his instructional knowledge. He has a bachelor's degree from Bethany, he has a master's from Wheeling Jesuit, and recently completed his doctorate. So he has taken it upon himself to make sure that he's well prepared for a leadership position. And he understands the importance, first of all, of trying to live up to the legacy at CW Shipley, and the importance of community and relationship with community. So I'd like to have him come up perhaps and say a few words. Dr. Kersey.
Good evening. I'm very thankful and excited for the opportunity to lead CW Shipley and to do great work there, creating positive achievement outcomes for our students. In my first 2 years at CW Shipley, I've developed a great love for our dedicated staff, hardworking students, and supportive community. I've learned that each group puts student learning first and collectively does whatever it takes to make certain our students are cared for, supported, and are as successful as they can be each day. As principal, I will make certain that CWS shines in every way, engaging learners and preparing them for the future. I'm eager to begin the 2022-2023 school year, our 50th anniversary at CW Shipley. That's a big deal for us. We're excited about that. Along with our staff, students, and community, we will be celebrating the accomplishments of our storied past and at the same time propelling into the future. For years to come at Shipley, we'll continue to hold ourselves accountable for student learning, complete all tasks to the highest of standards, and ensure that Shipley continues its storied tradition of educational excellence. I'm very eager and excited to get started. So thank you for this opportunity.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now you got a new awning, a new warmer this year, so don't expect that kind of stuff every year, okay?
The awning does look good. It looks very good. So we're excited about that. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Ogden. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Breton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. There is no unfinished business. We need to get with Mrs. Schwartz on the McCormick grant recommendations, and I think she is virtual. No?
I'm not sure where Mrs. Schwartz is. She's always very faithfully represented the McCormick grant and the work of that committee. So we will simply reschedule that for the next board
Should we
meeting.
table it for this?
Yes, sir. I believe we should table it for this. We've texted Mary Beth and her. I'm hoping everything is okay. It's just a mix up, but yes, sir, table it and then we'll put it on the next agenda, sir.
Thank you.
We'll have no loss of time or opportunity for those folks given the time of summer.
I need a motion to table the action on the McCormick grant recommendations.
I'll make a motion to table it.
Thank you, Ms. Breton. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Superintendent's comments.
No, sir, my only comment is to give a huge vote of thanks for Ms. White and Mr. Caton and the staff at Harpersbury Middle School. They have been, during what should be a bit of a downtime and sort of getting excited about next year and getting ready, have been frantically working to make this plan as good as it can be for kids and to have a great experience at Harpersbury while putting student safety first and foremost. So I do want to thank folks. It's always amazing. It's hard enough just to go along when everything's working. And then all of a sudden you hit something really, really hard and they always step up. They just always step up for kids. So a huge shout out to them and a huge thank you to that administration and teachers and nets. So thank you for that. But other than that, no, sir.
Thank you. We will be having an executive session. Is that correct?
No, sir, we will not be having an executive session. We placed that on there in the hopes that we would have gotten information back from legal for the next part of that discussion. We have not. So
Okay.
we will
We
place it
will
on there
not be
until-
having
We will
an
not be, no,
executive
sir.
session. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I motion that we adjourn.
Thank you, Mrs. Breton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Ogden. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We are complete. Thank you.
Thank you.